Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Designer Friends. I'm Tanner. I am the lead designer of Crawford Street Designs in Marietta. We just did a complimentary or a companion video that was lighting trends, and this is kind of a follow-up video that is very, very simple components of a light fixture, so that, like we talked about in the other video, you can identify what it actually is about a certain light fixture that you want, or the certain part that you need to play a big role or a feature role, or maybe just like an area of the light that you hadn't thought about, or that you think, you know, by doing something different on this one part, I think that will change up. I think that's what I needed in my space. Because again, as you'll see, with my beautiful hand-drawn light fixture, that there's really, it's made up of very simple parts and components. However, there's a few that we always think about, and there's a few that are kind of forgotten about. But when you need those little kind of somehow forgotten about pieces to play a big role, they totally can. So that's why I really wanted to identify everything for you guys. So let's talk about top to bottom. The very first piece at the top is called the canopy. So this is the piece that's going to go flush with the ceiling. And it's typically a rounded, almost disc-like looking piece that just goes up around the top, right? Reasons you might need to pay attention to the canopy more than normal are if you had an existing light fixture there and it kind of left a mark or a hole in your ceiling and you're not going to repair any of that, you need to make sure that canopy of your new fixture covers the canopy of the existing old fixture, or that once you take off the new fixture, you do any patchwork or painting, because a lot of times if you've painted the ceiling, or even if you haven't, when you take away that older fixture, there's kind of some dirt and grime or leftover that never got painted area. So again, just make sure that if you have an existing light fixture or a hole already, that you're paying attention to the size of the canopy. But in saying that, the canopies actually have a ton of details. So there are canopies that have almost like if you think of a watch face. So like watches are watches, right? There's not that much that they can differ, but in terms of aesthetic, you know, appeal or appearance. But if you change up the face just a little bit by adding a little gold detail around the edge or a leather band around the edge or whatever that may be, the watch can look totally different, right? Can look totally stylish, can look totally like a certain style, like if it's, you know, very military inspired or very floral inspired or professional or very whimsical. There's just all kinds of different ways that just the outer band detail can change things, right? Same thing about the canopy. So if you know that your light fixture is something that maybe shines up, like it's meant and intended to kind of do a cool effect on the ceiling or whatever, know then that the viewers are going to be looking up at that canopy. Or say that you have a great trade ceiling and you want just the detail to really be at the top, you know, like whereas a light fixture has great detail, you know, going on all around it, how or why might you need that canopy piece to really play a good role? You know, maybe you have, sometimes it's that you have another rounded back plate on your faucets or on your cabinet hardware, and you want that canopy to match that rounded back plate of that hardware. So again, the canopy, while seemingly so insignificant, can actually play a big role if you need it to. So the next thing is super like duh, but the chain. So the chain is, when we were talking about in the lighting trends video, this is one of the main reasons that pendants become such a different light fixture vibe altogether. Just a whole different look that it's outputting, because there's this chain element, and in chandeliers too. But like wall sconces don't have chain elements. Semi-flushes, flush mounts, recessed lighting, none of that has that chain. And let me say that a chain can absolutely, no pun intended, be a make or break deal, because you can put a wrong chain on there. You can have a very sophisticated design, project, or space or whatever, and put a chain that feels very raw or unrefined, or like I just went to the Home Depot bin and rolled the chain off and hung up my pretty light fixture with it. So sometimes, or even the opposite way, sometimes it's just a drop cord, and that doesn't feel dressy enough for what you need, or it doesn't feel substantial enough. Sometimes the cord or a dinky little chain can feel almost as if you had I know I keep going into jewelry, sorry for those of you that can't relate. I actually don't wear jewelry a lot, but it's easy for me to kind of visually picture that. If you have a big old like great locket or great pendant necklace, and it's going to drop down and it's going to be like the star of your outfit, right? You can't have it on this like piece of string chain, or on this chain that looks like it's about to break in any second, or it's got kinks in it. So all of those things is the same concept with your light fixture. If you have a chain that plays a big part, like if you have 2-story ceilings and this fixture hangs down a lot, or if you have like it's over a bathtub, or it's, because we talked about pendants a lot of times come in pairs or groupings, but sometimes there's single fixtures that are drop down lighting, right? And that's where that chain plays such an important role, or foyers right when you walk in. So there are lighting details in fixtures now where the chains, I wish I was a better drawer. They have chains that are like a long chain with like a little circle, and then a more oval, and then a little circle. So it looks like a pattern on the chain. And then there's chains where each link is more squared off instead of rounded like a traditional chain link. And so it looks like a more modern geometric effect. And there's some that are the opposite, that are like more soft and they're more kind of bubble rounded. So if you haven't, or if your project says pay attention to the chain, then pay attention to the chain, and know that there are lighting companies that really are paying attention to the detail in something like that. So that I just thought that was a fun way to, notice something that maybe you wouldn't have paid attention to, but when you do get a really stylish chain, like I said, like a necklace or a piece of jewelry, even though there's still something hanging from it, that nice piece of chain is still gonna make an impact as well, as much as it. So we got the canopy, the chain, then this like main piece, the main part of the light fixture is called the body. I mean, obviously, it's going to be where the arms are like a body, it's going to be where there may be like fetid looking things or scrolls, but the body is going to be that main part. So that's going to be the main shape, right? If you're looking for a drum chandelier, if you're looking for 5-light chandelier, if you're looking for whatever those kind of, like we always say, if you're going to go look for lighting online, that is a great option, obviously, but know to be very specific in what you're looking for, or you're going to be bombarded with a ton of choices for lighting. And so make sure that you're very specific. And like I said, the body will most likely be where your detail, where you need to be specific in order to kind of narrow yourself down into the actual fixture that you want. Again, if you're searching online. So the body is where you're going to need to kind of be the most specific, like I said, and think about, do you need a certain amount of lights? Do you need it to be linear in detail? Like this would be a longer one that would maybe go over a pool table or an island, because its shape dictates what it's highlighting, right? And so this says I'm highlighting something long and skinny. So again, what your body is probably the main place you're going to start. main style, like I said, the main amount of arms, the main shape that it is. So know, according to what it's going over or the function of the piece, start with its body, identify the characteristics of the body so that then you can be very specific when you're searching for that. And that'll just narrow things down a lot, to be mindful and just be knowledgeable, be intentional with paying attention to that first overall shape when you're starting to look for it, and then go into with a neat chain, or, you know, filter it out more by the canopy style or whatever that may be. But the body is, again, kind of your main style piece, size piece, that you're going to want to start your search, you know, based off of. Then the next piece is the shades. So the shades are another great detail to a light, because like we were talking about in the lighting trends, it's actually becoming more popular now to kind of hide the bulb and not make it so there's light and there's filament and there's actual electricity running through this place. Again, that's light, and everyone loves light, but it's also harsh light. It's very direct, in your face. Like I said, you can see the electricity. It's light, you know. So trending wise, it is kind of softening. So the shades now, because of that trend, are a huge player in your lighting. And shades come in linen, like natural textiles, linen and wicker and raffia and jute and all those things. Shades also come in opaque glass, and they come in seated glass, and they come in all unique features just within the shades. So again, when you've established how many lights you're going to have, okay, so that's telling you how many bulbs you're going to have, right? And then in your space, does it need a lot of light? Does that bulb need to be covered a little bit or softened a little bit? And if so, how much opaqueness do you need from that shade? How much of that bulb do you want covered, or how, you know, translucent versus transparent do you want that shade? And then from there, like I said, there's so many materials that can actually make up that shade. But what you need to be mindful of is, again, how many shades are there going to be, and how transparent do I need that shade to be? And then you can go into stylistically, do I want it to be natural or metal or linen? You know, how do I want that aesthetically to pull into my project? But again, think about the body, how many arms you have, and then think about the shade. Do I want to see that direct light bulb? Do I not? Do I kind of want to have a mixture? And that's where in the other video we talked about light layering. So say that your drop down piece has a shade that covers a lot. Well, then maybe you think that's not going to give off a ton of light. I want some sconces next to that do have a more transparent shade, or no shade at all. And so you can layer out those lights. So sometimes your shade is according to what your other lights are doing, and how that needs to either be kind of a balancing feature where they're halfway shaded because you've got one fully shaded and one not, or maybe you've got all shaded and you need some light to show now. So again, the shades can play a big part in how much light, how much electricity and brightness you actually want to be bouncing around, right? And then the last one is called, the last part we're going to talk about is called the finial, which is neat. It's also the top part of a lamp that screws on when you talk about like another light fixture. So in a lamp piece, like where you have the shade also, and then you have the harp that plants down into the base. The harp comes up the top, and you have a finial. So the finial is the top of a lamp base. My drawings are really leave a lot to be desired. I'm sorry. The finial on the top is on a lamp. On the bottom, it's on the chandelier, it's on the bottom. So this is called a finial. Again, it's something that you would kind of like not pay attention to. You're like, what do you mean? It's the bottom of the light. That's what, you know, it's like we need to look at feet. but it actually, especially depending on your project and where this light hits, where the bottom of the light hits, that the finial can actually be a breathtaking detail. So we got to see some lights the other day that we were in a showroom, and if you like say that it is like we're talking about a dining fixture, and you know people are going to be sitting there and essentially seeing the bottom of the light fixture more than they are the top, pay attention to that finial. Or if you are looking for a foyer piece and you know this is the like bam light fixture right when you walk into your house and you need it to make a statement, please don't forget to look from the bottom, because it's super great. And when we have like houses that are looking for foyer lights, especially if they have like a big bay window where you can see it, I mean, we are actually standing out front, looking in the window at nighttime going, what do we want to see there? Because everyone's going to see that, right? And that's good to think of when you're thinking of the body and the number of lights and even that chain and stuff. But when you're thinking of when they walk in and see it, they're looking straight at the bottom. Nobody's looking head on at a drop piece. Or if it's in a commercial space and it's a restaurant or a foyer, of a hotel, you need to be mindful that people are looking at the bottom of the chandelier more than they are looking at the top, more than they're looking at the side. They're seeing the bottom, and so finials actually, just like the canopy, can have little bitty detail. The finial, oh, this is so cool. The finials sometimes can match part of the body. So they have some where they have like marble elements on each arm, and then the bottom finial is the same marble, and or the same alabaster piece or the same seated glass piece that matches the shades. So again, if your space or your light fixture, people are going to be viewing it from the bottom, or it sits where it will be viewed from the bottom up more, pay attention to the finial. And that's a really fun place to get a unique detail, right? So again, super simple. Wanted to go over the components of a hanging light fixture for the most part, because again, like I said, when we're talking about lighting trends and how to layer light and all this, it's important to know that there's so many different aspects of a light. We're not just talking about, hey, you have a fixture and bam, it gives off one style and that's it. That fixture is just that. It's not. The fixture can have linear, but also soft elements. It can have warm, but also geometric elements. It can have a unique juxtaposition of styles that fit perfectly in your space. And that's why not every light fixture you're going to need to be this intentional about, right? But for those statement pieces, for the ones where you really are going to need to be like mindful about, what are people looking at here? What if this is the first light they see? Or even the neighbors, like, what do we want it to say about our house, about us, about, what we're doing in here, what we're like? So think strategically about each part. And again, start off with your body, start off with how many arms you need, how many lights you need, then go to the shade, how transparent do you want those lights to be? And then according to how your light hangs, do you need the top to be featured more? Do you need the bottom finial to be featured more? Do you need the chain to play more of a jewelry piece than just chain? And go from there. And if you need help, as always, reach out to us. It's always good to share design knowledge and trends and just things that we learn and experience with you guys. So if you want to have more designer friend conversations, then subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.